Okay, everybody, this is my spoiler review of House of the Dragon Season 2, Episode 7. We are finally at the penultimate episode of this rather short season, it only being 8 episodes compared to the 10 from Season 1. I'm going to start everything going on with the Blacks, then we'll go to the Greens, and then we'll finish off with everything going on with Daemon. Now, with the Blacks, this was the best storyline this episode to me by far, and it is really Rhaenyra's fight against tradition, and that is what King Viserys struggled with, always holding on to tradition, and this is her breaking free of that, and it's also her recruiting these dragon riders. So it opens with this beautiful looking scene, like it is eye candy. This is HBO at its best with visuals when we see Sea Smoke and Cyrax on the beach. And I also noticed the sounds of the dragons were amazing in this episode. That will happen later on when they're trying to tame the other two dragons, but here as well. I love when Emma Darcy at one point plays Rhaenyra that she's a little spooked by Sea Smoke. I thought that was great because at the end of the day, everyone's a little scared of these dragons. But Adam will explain to her the dragon came to him. He did not steal this dragon. And he'll pledge his loyalty to Rhaenyra, and she's glad this is a case of proving her right. That someone who might just have a little bit of Targaryen blood, maybe none at all, can actually ride a dragon. Now, as plain as day, this episode, you can connect the dots, and they've referenced it subtly that Alan and Adam are brothers who are bastards of Lord Corlys. So the big mystery here, which even characters will talk about, is like, do they have some Targaryen blood? You don't really know with the old Valyrian who mixed with who. So there's a lot of that going on. I think they'll always kind of leave that a little bit of a mystery because, like Rhaenyra was saying, it could be many things in her speech later on, which we'll get to. But this will give Rhaenyra hope they can find riders for Vermithor and Silverwing. But White Worm will actually point out to her it's a lot easier than she thinks, that with all the whorehouses going on in King's Landing and things like that, there's probably people with some Targaryen blood in there. But she has been the best voice of reason, a great unofficial hand the White Worm has been for Rhaenyra, because she tells her to put her honor aside. She's like, your brothers seek to destroy you. A commoner vows to serve you. Like, take that. That's a big win. And that the order of things have changed. And that's kind of what the times have changed, and adapting to that. That's how she can win this war. And that's why Rhaenyra will then say, well, then, you know what? Let's raise an army of bastards. You always love hearing bastards in Game of Thrones universe, thinking of Battle of the Bastards. And it's an interesting little moment here where Corlys goes to see Adam and kind of just gives him a cold dad moment, but still says well done about getting on the dragon and making something of himself. Corlys will then also inform his brother Alan that Adam got on the dragon, and he ponders that maybe his mother had something in the blood, kind of hinting to, Alan, like, you should try this too. But Alan's like, I'm Salton Sea. He's complete opposite of Adam there, of this like loyalty and not wanting to go for the big strokes. But we'll see that Corlys will have Alan be the message boy for the queen to get more bastards. That will literally be the scene later on where Alan will fast travel note to King's Landing through the White Worm network. It is kind of breaking records now how many times they do this fast traveling some way or another between these faraway places in this show, especially in this season. Now, there's also a strange scene. I almost wish it was longer or just more to this story because it's suffering a bit. Is with Rhaena leaving the Eyrie, and she's with the little ones, but she does a quick right when no one's looking and goes to where that dragon did its damage in the field. So this is what she always wanted. She wanted something more. She doesn't want to be the caregiver. She wants to ride a dragon. But it's such a quick, short scene, and it just felt like the littlest check-in ever, where it almost felt like we were robbed of getting maybe a little more emotion to that, or more into her mindset. Now, Jace will come in hot because he is mad that Rhaenyra would welcome a low-born dragon rider. And at first I was like, Jace, what the hell? Like, relax. But he actually gives some good arguments here. You kind of get his perspective. And I also like, he says, was it her idea? Like, talking snippy about the White Worm. So you can see Jace is a little jealous of that relationship. See, because Jace will say, though, if they lose their name being the Dragon Riders, that Targaryen honor of that, and everyone could just do it, what if one day that lowborn type decides to try to rule the Seven Kingdoms? That's what they can hold over people. And then it goes even deeper, and this is where the real psychology of Jason, why he's feeling this way, is because his real father, being Harwin Strong, he's telling Rhaenyra, I'm not an idiot. He knows that that's his real father. That's going to haunt him the rest of his life. So if people say he's not having a true claim, what he always does have is that he has a dragon. And if that gets nullified, it's not going to be the same weight anymore. So that's where his true heartbreak lies. But Rhaenyra basically is like, you know what? it sucks. I don't want it this way, but this is what the gods have handed me, and this is what we got to do. And she makes great points too. Like, what would you have me do? You know, we have to win this war. It's better than us all getting killed. Now, after the note has been fast travel of Rhaenyra wanting Targaryen bastards here to step on up and try to get on a dragon, this will set up Ulf and Hugh Hammer the blacksmith. Now, I've complained a lot about how that storyline with Hugh Hammer has really gone nowhere, so we're finally seeing the payoff to it, and I wish just the scenes were a little more interesting with him earlier on to get us more excited about this, but these scenes with him in this episode were really, really good, and it made me very interested in this character. We learned his mother was a Targaryen, and not just any old Targaryen, was the aunt to Viserys and Daemon. She worked in the whorehouses, and he never told his wife about this, and now he's telling her, and he's like, I failed to protect you and keep our daughter alive, so I guess the daughter did die. I don't know if I missed that. They show that off screen. And he says, we would never want again if I claimed a dragon. And then he's like, they'd make you a lady. She's like, I don't care to be a lady, Hugh, and I don't want to be a widow. So she's giving him the reality of that too. If you become a dragon rider, you know, it's like joining the army basically. But he is a big episode, and he's finally like a new interesting character, kind of just from being just a side small folk person who's been struggling. I love too, now before we go to this big scene with taming the dragon, I just love that the dragon tamers are out. You know, they're like, Rhaenyra, this ain't sacred anymore. You just let anyone do this. Bye. And Rhaenyra then has a great scene where she gives the bastards a pep talk. She's like, Coach Rhaenyra here. She says, peace will be restored. Suffering will be ended if we get these dragon riders. So she's saying the risk, she's being truthful with them, but if they do this, they can start living new lives and better lives for people that they care about and for the future. And what gives you the nerd bumps here is when she says, Vermithor, largest dragon in the world after Vhagar, and perhaps the most fierce. He is called the Bronze Fury. So it gets you hyped for who you're about to see. And I love in this moment the bastards are brought in like cattle. And Vermithor is completely terrifying, doesn't disappoint. And again, the sound of the dragons in this episode, especially Vermithor, was wild, and he looks so good in his face. There's so much detail there. Really movie quality. It's like Jurassic Park level good, but they can fly these dragons. And it's interesting too because it looks so good, and sometimes when they're riding the dragons, the backgrounds look really bad and fake, but I guess all the money is going towards making the dragons look right. So I guess I'd still rather have that, but I wish it all could look that good. I love, though, when the first volunteer goes up to try to tame Vermithor, that Rhaenyra now learned from last time. She goes to the balcony level to watch, and this goes sideways fast. He's just burning everybody. And then the scene that pursues, I did think it went a little too long, having the blacksmith and Ulf just running away from the dragon. It was exciting. It was shot really cool, but it was long, and I felt like it could have been a little shorter, but I still enjoyed it and had very Hobbit, Lord of the Rings vibes to it, especially with a character like Ulf, who looks like he's straight out of that world, and having, of course, dragons fighting in dark dungeons. I absolutely love, too, when Vermithor just eats a guy on fire, just like a snack. But you see, Hugh Hammer finally goes for it. He's like, I'm ready, come on. And that's the type of person, that part of it, not just the blood, but a connection there, that Vermithor respects that. He's this fierce dragon, so he wants someone who is fierce with him. So it really, Hugh jumped up to me, like probably going to be a fan favorite going forward. Meanwhile, Ulf is running for his life, steps on a dragon egg, and he finds himself in Silverwing's den. And Silverwing's just pushing him around. But he likes Ulf. This is what he's looking for. And that will lead to Ulf just like wildly flying this dragon over King's Landing, which will alert Aemond. We will get to that at the end when I talk about the greens part. So we'll stop there at the blacks. But everything with the blacks I did really, really enjoy here. Now, let's go to everything with the greens, which was very little this episode. And I'm surprised we haven't seen Otto yet. Desperately needed right now. But Alicent's just doom and gloom, and I have no idea where Helena is. I would have liked to see that because they went away in the buggy last episode, and I don't know what happened with her character. She was so significant in the first two episodes, she's barely been used at all now. But you see the Grand Maester will say to Alicent, you have a scar, but it will be hidden. That's obviously meaning more than the actual literal meaning of it, that it's metaphorically saying that, yeah, she's permanently scarred to what's happened here, and she is someone who likes to hide that deep down, and I think she's working through that right now, and I think all that's going on with Alicent is setting up, like I predicted last week, some kind of redemption arc for her. There's going to be a change here because she's at rock bottom. So she wants to privately go out to Kingswood with Sir Ricard, And she even tells Sir Ricard when they get to the woods she might not ever return to the city. So it's a big reveal that Alicent might actually be quitting on this life of honor she's always valued. And Alicent loves a good bath, takes a bath in the lake, looks up at the hawk. I actually didn't really like this scene because it just seemed like a scene you've seen visually so many times, like an indie film. It just felt a little cliche for me, but again, with wearing all the white, I do feel like a redemption arc is on its way. Now, Loras will learn from Lord Jasper that Sea Smoke has a rider. And Jasper offers Loras a whisper to give to Aemon. But Loras says maybe this one is best left to the wind, but you can never trust him. I think he's just going to keep that in his back pocket for Aegon, and he probably wants Aemon out some way. He's going to always have some crazy plan. And what's crazy about Loras is the just things he'll do, and he doesn't care. Like, Aegon's in terrible shape, and we see that he's actually pushing his physical therapy, like pushing it further than it should be, where the Grand Maester's like, you got to go easy on him. And he's like, no. And it's interesting too, because when we see Aegon, he looks in really bad shape. And like I said in my previous review, he looks like Viserys on his dying days. And you actually see the scene before was seeing that vision Dame was having of Viserys in that state. So he looks like that. And at the end of the episode, when we see Aemon finally, we see that he's told that his brother, Prince Daeron, Dragon is taken to wing, so he expects to join the fight soon. So we're going to need this now, because now all of a sudden, seeing how we've ended up, it almost seems like Rhaenyra's got full advantage now, but that will even it back out a little bit, having Daeron in the picture. But we'll see again, he sees the dragon come through, gets on Vhagar, but the huge thing is he flees on Vhagar when he sees what Rhaenyra is up to with her new recruits. So that was a really awesome cliffhanger, but just looking at the episode as a whole with that, it's a lot of setup these last 3 episodes, and it really is testing patience level of slow, and it really better deliver the finale. I think it will from where they left it. I'm very excited, and there's still a lot of good stuff in both those storylines, but it just has really, really slowed down the pace compared to season 1, and it feels strange that it hasn't moved a little quicker than it has, especially being based off a book. But let's talk about Daemon scene here, which was actually, I think, the best Daemon scene we've seen this season, which isn't saying much, because he's still in Harrenhal in his House of Horrors, but it's always exciting when little Lord Oscar Tully shows up. And Daemon's like, the crown congratulates you on your ascension to the head of your house and Lord Paramount in the Riverlands. Truly glorious, well done. And he says, I did nothing. That was great. The actor of Oscar Tully was great here. But Tully will bring up the River Lords, and all the people basically hate Daemon for what he did. And he's like, I don't need their love. I need their swords. This is like always going to be Daemon's Achilles heel, that he's not getting this, that is never a good strategy. But we'll see what Tully will tell the people is that he has no love for Daemon, but wants to honor his grandsire's oath to Rhaenyra. But he still throws shade at Daemon, which is great, in calling him prince. And he says, King, mind your tongue, boy. That was great. But he wants Willem Blackwood to answer for his crimes, and the reason he really wants this is so Daemon denounces his crimes and dispenses justice by killing Blackwood. And Daemon has no other choice but to do this. He's put in the corner here smartly by Tully to kind of get people to be okay with Daemon and to be able to trust Daemon a little more. He can't just let Daemon push him around, and I like that Tully did that. And we'll see that Daemon sees the Black Billy Goat again, which again can symbolize demon, but really a lot of times it symbolizes seeing a deep side of self that isn't usually seen, which we've been seeing Daemon go through, and now he sees the vision of Viserys at his end. And I like this vision the best when he's holding the crown and he's like, I never wanted it. All that pain it caused, it crushes whoever wears it. And he asks Daemon, do you want it still? Does Daemon want it still? It's already causing suffering in his life in his way and not being with Rhaenyra anymore. So I don't know what positives he's getting from that dream he has right now. But I did like that Daemon just story here in this episode. I thought that was good, and I really hope in the finale he gets through this too and that he's not just stuck in Harrenhal. I'm sure he'll interact with these dragons. Now we're going to have a big battle scene with Daemon in one factor, Rhaenyra's new crew, and obviously Aemon and possibly his brother if he's already going to be seen, but we'll see about that. But I'm going to give this one an 8.1. I still think it was really solid. Again, House of Dragons consistently solid, but it's not hit the heights of season 1 where there's like a lot of episodes I rate in like a 9 I thought were really just powerful and something you remember. It just feels like a lot of setup recently these last 3 episodes for a big finale, which is a little disappointing, but I still enjoyed it. But I feel like a lot of people are going to be really, really losing their patience at this point, so they got to pick up the pace for sure. Let me know your thoughts down below. I read every comment. I try to respond as many as I can. Hit that sub button so you miss one of my reviews of House of the Dragon. I also review the show Sunny on Apple TV Plus right now, and I have some fun celebrity interviews coming out, and I'll see you next time.